So on Tuesday Eric set himself up horizontal with tape recorder, magic journal, H20, earplugs, blindfold etc. and snorted 250 milligrams. DPT. The pure powder. Foul taste and odor of product. After 10 minutes very shaky, trembling, vibrating. The same vibrations that rocked the skeleton spread to shake the whole room. He tears off earplugs/blindfold. Pan has entered the inner room, panic. The air is dense with shifting dancing fractal shrimp, geometry of visions is sharp, sliding, nothing is solid. How was I ever fooled into thinking it was? Nothing can be held in my hands for long. No place to observe from, no repose, cannot rest on blanket and pillow which are molecules racing up to light speed and the poor primate nervous system protests quantum physics in everyday life, vomits fluorescent yellow and green into crystal bathtub. Suddenly sucked into an alternate world, out on shimmering night streets with dark purple woman. Now back in room. How long was I gone? Is this still going on? The world's gushing alive. Next, he's a yogi suddenly overwhelmed with psychic energy, third eye and crown chakra explode, eyes and mouth shocked open, doubled over onto knees, sky of room invaded blooming with fierce fire wheels, mandalas send flaming electric shards to pierce repeatedly with real pain as real as any phenomenal skin mutilation, the jolt center muscles, nerves, moan and screech in pain, helpless, next world, a room with some guy. Eric has repeatedly done work to arrange situations and experiences and experiments so as to entertain himself and then to write down what happens. This time he's gone too far, the experiment was too powerful and consumed the laboratory. The guy begins yelling, "Why the fuck did you do this for?" "I don't know." Both experience terrible fear, breaking up simultaneously with the room into cells, molecules, light, shaking violently as in an apocalypse's earthquake, conceptions burned out of skulls by endless light. The whole universe falls apart, all colors in electric air whirlpool into a mandala, eaten up forever. That's it, the world's over. Outside now, watching. It's very obvious the human world was as stable as a house of toothpicks, amazing it didn't fall apart sooner in history, but the hideous human angel hasn't been crawling along the planet that long at all. And now someone pulled the plug out accidentally. Several times he finds himself in a quasi-human world, with various bodies, man, woman, old bum, machine, teen girl, cartoon, etc., with a fully different set of memories and characteristics living some schizoid life for a few intense minutes, then the whole thing would be eaten up into a mandala that throbs in space which would never fail to shock and horrify him. It's cold out here, where's home? I wanna go back, where's home? Once, floating bodiless, no limbs to flail in protest, he asked why was the whole Earth human ape contraption ever even running? Why does everyone have to struggle and suffer and get caught in animal drama if it's all gonna close down anyway and nobody gets nothing? Answer: it wasn't what you thought it was. It was not a difficult test. The organic world is like a ride, a warm 3D roller coaster. Once you get on you forget you were ever anywhere else because you're so overwhelmed by the colors and nerve explosions and density of it all. From outside this is clear, the universe is such a festive holy space. To have meat bodies, what an opportunity for joy. So meanwhile, inside the wheel, inside the earth world which goes on and on whilst a few escape momentarily to see it from afar as psychonauts or by death let you out, Eric's body vehicle was raging psychotic, involved in all sorts of instinctive surrealism, with a source of attention chemically locked in other dimensions. The body continued to act upon itself and the environment, thrashing, howling, broke up an empty fish tank that was in the room, throwing glass into the bathtub which it climbed into wearing thermal underpants, and proceeded to use soap and glass shards to wash itself or something. Perhaps it was enjoyable. Maybe the glass looked very beautiful, maybe it seemed like flowers or sponges or pieces of the body of God. Don't know, don't remember. But at this point, the neighbors across the hall called police and rescue squad because sound effects mimicked someone being severely beaten. Isn't the human world so funny? You can't go too far in any direction without someone coming in and scooping you up. Hold on. Come back here. The report that he was given was that everyone feared him. He appeared possessed, berserk, amok, etc. It took 5 large men to subdue and 5 times the usual dose of Ativan to tranquilize the body. This seems humorous now, and there's no memory of it available for viewing. Only a few lovely scars. An objective video recording of this trip would be the most amazing action film he could ever watch. The closest memory he has of that scene is being one of a cult of beautiful wise children that sit up in wooden apartments smoking psychedelic mushrooms all day. We speak in a language that's evolved from English and sci-fi lingo and is able to describe the otherwise incomprehensible experiences we share, one word retrieved into this world. Hysteroid, which describes a mixed state of hysteria and psychoid traits, as in, I don't know what's up with him, has been acting like so hysteroid lately. Police came in, violent and ready to punish, and we were just like, oh, those guys again, and ignored them. We knew there was no act more revolutionary than disassembling and reassembling reality in our own bedrooms. We were such perfect detached space explorers that the other poor humans' cries of protest and fear were less than the buzzing of dizzy flies. For the majority of the trip there was no knowledge of ever having ingested a supplement called DPT, or any idea of Eric's life. There were a few flashes of the room, but it was wildly transformed into a savagely abstract version, with additional people, objects, new animals, furniture, etc. And there was a recurring experience of being someone who had gone insane and couldn't control the seizure-dancing body as it was propelled through life, running at 20 times the speed and intensity of ever before, being thrown bodily upstairs and down streets, through alleys and buildings and windows and plant life, and especially drowning in infinitely deep rainbow oceans, morphing bodies and minds, faces exploding endlessly into a geyser of chaotic nature forms and information, living so violently inside the present moment that there was no memory, no time for history, and no anticipation, because every moment so incredibly bizarre and new that prediction would be ridiculous. The auditory information was a constant experience of weird echoing sounds, electronic-ish sound forms, physically, emotionally, visually present, many frequently resembling an unintelligible machine voices or terrible freakish animal screams, or both. One world contained a sleek futuristic version of Eric and his friends, allies in a magical group based on revelations understood in a space accessible with a certain chemical key. This space shows this world, though through a lens so different that it becomes almost unrecognizable. You enter a wild stream of information that seems to be the raw chaos that permeates everything always. We call the knowledge gained in this space and the state of receiving it schizophrenic truth. One level of it, as you come closer back to your usual state, reveals life as a ride on an ever-blooming point, to DEET, or rather a continuous explosion of sensation channeled into the forms of your body and environ, which is surrounded by infinite other pockets of experience, the collection of which is hyperspace, NUI. We may access any of these points as rooms in an endless hotel, each room a universe, a complete life, or both, and travel as transdimensional nomads through alien territories until the chemical wears off and we slip back into our home base world with the obvious knowledge that it is one among infinite others inside the inconceivable freakiness of Mama Nature. Eric woke at 6 a.m. the next morning vomiting charcoal in New Orleans Charity Hospital attached to a cartoon yellow catheter. The charcoal was for the fruitless project of trying to pump his stomach. Supposedly the body was having seizures and later was put on a respirator. He signed a release form saying he would stop using drugs and collapsed into a taxi home wearing fat bleeding lips, a chipped tooth, many wide open smiling cuts, maroon bruises, and the world-famous asexual hospital gown. Once again, Eric had found himself in the wrong culture. Any good old South American shamaness would tell you that spitting, screaming, vomiting, seizing, thrashing, mutilation, and visions of the body's destruction and end are all part of the extraterrestrial voyage. In the days following, the body was drained and weak and feared that the world would dissolve into a ruthless, all-consuming mandala and my precious animal incarnation would be game over. This fear is extremely useful for enjoying the moment-to-moment life. In the weeks following, each time he smoked cannabis, the DPT imagery would turn on in the visual display, and a few playbacks of 3D sounds were witnessed. While in meditation, certain sounds, voices and images bubbled up which seemed to be parts of the trip, and mental recordings of the rescue squad's voices and roommate's voice trying to communicate with him. Even with the bloody drama and overwhelming emergency, Eric regrets nothing and considers this one of the most potent and educational days of his Earth life so far.